Hi everyone, this is Gail. I am so excited to be with you today. We have more than 50 participants who signed up for this webinar. So please go ahead, in the chat box, let us know what's your name, where you're from, and just introduce yourself. My VA, Sam, is monitoring the chat. You will maybe see her pop up as a customer support. And so today I will be your host for this amazing, packed with value webinar called 3 Simple Strategies to Know and Find Your Target Market to Start Getting Clients. So let me start sharing my screen with you guys. Here we go. All right, so let's get started. Before I go ahead, and share with you all the content that I want to talk to you about regarding, how to find who is your ideal client, where to find them, how to speak in a way that resonates to them, and a little bit about market research as well. I really invite you to create a space with no distraction. I know, we human love to multitask, and we have the impression, that we are more productive, but really, studies have shown that productivity actually decreases when someone is multitasking. So to ensure your success and that you will retain the most information out of this training, please make sure that your phone is on silence, door is closed, you close your email tab in your browser or any other tab, and you focus on you and your business in the next hour. This is a time for you to grow your business, and this is sacred. So today I will share with you 3 simple strategies to know who is your ideal client and where they hang out online. That's really key to in your business, to start getting clients, because when you know who is your ideal client and you can connect with them for market research, then it's really not unusual that you actually sign your first paying clients after a market research interview. And you get also, so much more insights. You gain that, it leads you to book another client and then another client, etc. But without knowing clearly who is your target audience and where you can find many ideal clients online, then if you want to, if you want to start your online business, or if you want to switch an existing business into online, you're basically doomed, because you might be the best coach in the world. If you don't know how to market yourself online to your ideal client, it will never take off. So that's really a critical step. And as you see, onto the slide here, at the end of this webinar, I will also share with you a very cool gift to help you assess whether your target market is setting you for success or failure in your business. And so to thank you for signing up on this webinar, I will give you a promo code, to get a free 30-minute nail down your niche assessment with me. So stay tuned. There is a limited amount of those free assessments I can give over the next week or so. So make sure that you're listening and scheduling yours as soon as possible. So let's get started, shall we? Get me some yeses in the chat box if you're ready, please. I'll check that at the end of the webinar, and Sam is monitoring it for me. So let's get started. Here are some really interesting facts. 9 times out of 10, when I speak to a woman on a discovery call, her target market is setting her up for failure. That's super real. 9 times out of 10. And I understand, when I first started my business, I thought I had my niche very well defined. But I wasn't getting any engagement on my post. I wasn't signing any clients. And so I had to realize, that despite the fact that I thought my niche was really, really well defined, it must not have been enough, because otherwise I would have found at least, somebody to answer my market research interviews and get to find these ladies online. So, the day I finally nailed down my niche, I had to work on it and rework on it 3 times in total. That's really when I realized, wow, like my niche was so crystal clear and so defined and precise that no wonder why I was attracting clients now. And, the funny thing is that these clients that I was attracting were exactly using the same words. They were, saying exactly this is their life. This is how they felt the day before calling me, or this is how they felt the first time that they read my post. And so I could really resonate with them. And, when you start a business, especially online, it's so true online. There is a saying that you can see at the bottom of the slide here. It says, if you try to speak to everybody, then you're speaking to nobody. Because the online world is so crowded compared to, a brick and mortar or a regular business. The online world is so crowded that this is really the first roadblock that we as women entrepreneurs have to overcome, because we tend to want to help as many people as possible, and therefore we try to speak to everybody. Well, that might be, let's say possible after you have your business 10 years. Like if you look at, Marie Forleo or other big gurus, or even, Tony Robbins, he's having talks and programs about business, about life, about different categories or areas of somebody's life, but he didn't start like that. So, if you are speaking super general to everybody, then nobody is really resonating. You're just sounding so general that nobody really stops in their tracks saying like, wow, this is me. And this will hold you from getting clients online. So have you ever had this feeling that you're completely invisible? You might be writing posts, you might be writing newsletters, you might have been already asking to do some market research interviews, but no one is really noticing you, and all you hear is just a resounding silence, right? Let me know if that is you. I want to hear it. I definitely want to know what worries you about not finding your ideal client. Why do you feel your niche is still not defined? I mean, if you're on this webinar today, I will show you how to define very precisely your ideal client. But if you're here today, let's be honest, it's because you think that your ideal client is not precise enough, that you didn't find your niche yet. And if not, then I invite you to save your time and not stay on this webinar, if you will, because this is what I'm going to talk about in depth into this webinar. That, like I said, it definitely happened to me in the first 6 months of my business. Originally, my very first niche that I wanted to do was about women who want to travel or live abroad. And that wasn't precise enough. That wasn't a complete transformation. And so I had almost zero engagement at that moment. So the real problem is that your ideal client avatar isn't clear enough. So basically, what does that mean is that your ideal client doesn't know when you're talking to them. I'm going to give you a very quick metaphor here. Imagine you're entering a space, you're entering a playing field where there are 6 million people, and you meet someone that you know, and you're like, hey, lady, nobody's going to turn. I mean, there is like, what, 4 million ladies? It's like, nothing is specific. It's the same, for me, if, let's say, if I am in France and somebody is saying, like, hey, Frenchie, like, I'm in France. I'm not going to term. But the thing is that if somebody is like, hey, Gail, or if somebody says, hey, Frenchie, in a space where I am the only one, I'm in America and I'm the only one to be French, I will turn my head and I will pay attention. So you got to have a very clear identifier for your ideal client and a really clear description so that people are like, yeah, this is me. This is exactly me. And then they are ready to listen to you, grab their attention. And, if you want to take what you're learning today deeper, definitely grab one of these nail down your niche assessment, because I will share with you at the end of the webinar how to schedule one for yourself. But that way, you can really have my personal feedback on your niche to help you figure out what small tweaks you can make that will have a huge impact on your potential to book high-paying clients. Honestly, it's really, really difficult when you're doing your niche. We always find when it's our niche that we are specific enough, and it's really good to have an expert point of view about it so that they can tell you when it is niche down enough, when it is precise enough, and that you can stop niching down. So, are you ready to finally learn how to discover who are your ideal clients, where they hang out, and how to speak to them in a way that resonates with them and drives your engagement like crazy so that they are eager to work with you? This is really what I'm going to share with you. This is exactly the 3 points I will teach you today. So you might know me or maybe not. So let me just share real quick part of my story with you. For those of you who don't know me yet, real quick, my name is Gail Lecourt and I am French. I guess some of you may have picked up on the accent. By background, I am a research scientist and I have lived in UK, Switzerland, USA, and Mexico in the last 10 years. Back in 2014, I was a communication manager for the world leader in flavors and fragrance for their research department. And I was so tired, of the politics and the rat race that I decided to quit my job. I quit on October 7th, 2014. It was the birthday of my niece. And I basically sold everything that I had. And I went to Playa del Carmen, Mexico to redesign my life. And at that time, after I did a 1-year training with Gina Devi in coaching and online business, it was her 1-year program. Basically, we were end of 2015. And despite being consistently visible online as a freedom coach, I signed up 0 clients. Now, 2 years later, my life is completely different. I work with clients all over the world. I reached 5-figure a month in my first year of business. And I have a Facebook group called Finding Yourself Abroad with more than 1,000 women who are really eager to build their online business, to reclaim their own personal and financial freedom, so that they can also live a fulfilling life and business and travel the world. Personally, I live between Mexico in the winter, France in the summer, and the USA in between. And my business allows me to travel and support my digital nomad lifestyle. So, in January 2016, the only thing that changed between me signing 0 clients for 6 months and me having my first client is that I had redefined my niche so precisely that I started getting market research interviews. And then very quickly, I realized that on this market research interview, I was vibing up so well with that amazing lady that she basically asked me at the end how she could work with me and how she could do my VIP retreat in Playa. Now, she signed up for a discovery call with me the next day, and she ended up buying my VIP retreat and my 3 months package for a total of $4,700. That was just, I didn't have all my systems set up in place. I didn't have, the perfect sales page, but by communicating with her and talking with her, I was able to transform that market research call into a discovery call and then sign her up as a client. So today, here's the agenda. You will get my number one secret strategy to discover who are your ideal clients and where they hang out online, so that you can really get insightful market research results, start building your list. And like I said, it's a great opportunity to book clients and make sales as well. You will also learn how to speak to your audience in a way that makes them feel like they need what you have and make them want to say yes now. And finally, I will share also with you my 2 sure ways to resonate with your target market and attract ideal clients who adore you and can't wait to invest with you. So let's get started. Number one strategy I use with all my clients to find their niche. It's about putting yourself into your ideal client's shoes. So think of it for a minute, it's completely different from what you might have heard out there. You're not trying to write a letter to your ideal client. You're not trying, to imagine a conversation with your ideal client either. You're not trying to understand every single thing about this person. You basically become your ideal client. And this is critical. It's exactly the same process as when you want to reprogram your subconscious, for example. There is like a 15-20 minutes induction phase, to get you into that state where you can reprogram your brain. Well, that's exactly the technique that I am using. By answering a questionnaire, I basically induce my clients into the state where they become their ideal client. And for that, I use my Find Your Ideal Client questionnaire that asks a lot of questions about your ideal client's lifestyle, habits, fears, worries, desires. And that really enables you and your brain to really switch into your ideal client's shoes. And then when you're into their shoes, you can think and feel like they do. So that's really, really powerful. And that's at this moment, after I've induced that state in you, that's the moment when it's time to get these critical details about your ideal client. So what are those critical points that you need to know to successfully niche down or nail your niche? First one is the person, who they are. How would they describe themselves? The second is pain. What are the biggest pains and roadblocks that your client is experiencing? Third one is desire. What specifically do they desire the most? And what it will give them? That's, the end game. So, a lot of coaches, when they start and when they try to niche down, they're just stopping at the desire. That's nice, but that's not really what's fueling you. So, if you're looking for creating an online business, that's a desire. But the end game is to be able to travel while you're working and to go spend 6 months in Australia or go then, 3 months in Mexico, for example, and spending time with your loved one. That's really what's driving. That's really the fuel behind your desire. And so you need to know the end game, because this is what really is going to make a difference in someone's when they listen to you. And then, when you have those 4 big points, that's basically time to wrap it up in one sentence. I'm going to show you how to condensate who is your ideal client in a very powerful way that attracts them. And I'll show you the details in just a moment. But before that, I want to quickly share with you 2 case studies I had with my clients recently. So here is Birgit. She's a love and relationship coach. And just for the deets, she is an amazing lady who lives in Switzerland. She travels the world, and she is currently volunteering in her nonprofit in Sudan. So very busy, very digital nomad profile. And so when Birgit came to me, she was just starting her business. She had been trying to do it herself for 6 months without significant results. So we started working on who is our ideal client. And here is who is the person that she's serving. The who is the successful businesswoman who is still single. The pain is that this person feels like she will never find someone. And the desire is to attract her ideal man who knows how to cope with her high achieving background. So that's really, really critical. It's not a woman who is, meeting 10 guys and sleeping with each one of them one after another. It's not somebody who thinks that she can't be loved because she's overweight. This is extremely precise. This is a very successful woman who has a very high achieving background, and as a consequence, she doesn't attract the type of guy who is confident near her. The end game of that lady is that she wants to have a passionate, supportive, and committed relationship with the man who is the exact right match for her. So somebody who loves her drive in business, somebody who can support her in business instead of feeling like he's, diminished by her successes or things like that. Here is Vicky. And Vicky is a transitional coach. She desires to travel with her daughter after graduation. She's currently working in corporate full-time, and so we are building her business on the side so that she can leave her corporate job. So the person Vicky is helping is women who have been impacted by religious belief and social pressures that keep them stuck in difficult, dysfunctional relationship. This is coming from Vicky's personal story as well. It's her own story of growing up in a very religious background where, she didn't have any freedom of living the life how she wanted it. And there are so many women nowadays, stuck in a relationship, in a marriage, just because the belief system is that divorce is not an option. And they could be into abusive relationship, and they are really, really in pain because they feel, one, that they have lost their own identity, and 2, they are also not giving a good role model for their kids. So their desire is to really rebuild their lives so that they can follow their own dream. And the end game here is to really live free and be an amazing role models for their children. So that is the driver into Vicky's ideal client, is somebody who is independent, make sure that her boundaries are respected, that she feels she's worthy, so that her children can grow up thinking that they are worthy as well, and that they know how to get their boundaries respected in the world as well. See how this one is also extremely specific. It's a very, very specific type of transition that Vicky is helping her client with. It's not a career transition. It's not a live event transition. She's not saying that she's going to help you transition from one situation to another. That doesn't mean anything. This is so freaking general. It doesn't mean anything. She really specifically helps women who are stuck into a relationship to get out of it and reclaim their life. And so that level of precision allows both Brigitte and Vicky and any of my other clients who work with me on their ideal client to know exactly who to target and where to go find them. So speaking of, let's talk now about where your ideal client hang out. And I want to make sure that this is clear, like if you're just saying like, if your ideal, let me take the example, again of the language. Is so easy to, in the metaphor that everybody can understand. If you're looking for a French person as your ideal client, you would go to France. Or you would go, to a French meetup in the US, for example. But if you're just saying like, I'm looking for a human, instead of saying that you're looking for a French person, let's niche down even that example actually. If your ideal client, is a French woman between 18 and 20, I guess, then you would go to high school in France to go find that lady. And, you would probably go to a class that she's more, that has more women than men into it. But if you're just saying like, I'm looking for a woman, then, you could end up in Germany and not finding your ideal client because you're not in the right space. So I want you to be clear about the fact that you got to have your ideal client, the who, very clear before you go find her, because who you are targeting is needed to know where to go find them. So here is a list of where you can start, with your passive market research. I'm saying this is passive market research because this is where basically, you're just going to look at spaces where they're at. So Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups are really the must-have, especially if you're targeting somebody in corporate. LinkedIn is very much used by women in corporate, less by business women, like entrepreneur women, for example. Now, you can go into different forums like Reddit, Quora. You can go into group programs. If you're a love coach, you might consider joining a program of a competitor because you will know this is for your target market, research. You will know what these people are saying, what is their biggest trouble. So you're going to get a ton of data out of group programs. Amazon is a very good way to find customer reviews and see what they're talking about. So, you can look for different books or movies that your ideal client would be interested in that are close to your niche, and you would see what they are saying. And then, of course, you can go to live events, networking events. You can speak with people and see, what they are saying is their biggest pain. You can ask them what's their desire. You can do interviews without knowing it very quickly in networking events. So why is it so important to do some market research on this platform? Because there are two different ways of doing market research, and you need them both. There is the passive way that we have just seen, and there is the active way. And so the passive way, like I said, is analyzing all the information on this platform to see what language your ideal client uses. And this is super important because it's one sure way to resonate with your client is to use their own words. Another example, following up with language, if you were to go to China and try to speak French to them, you're not speaking the same language. And if you're not speaking the same language, you won't be able to get understood. And they won't even know you're speaking to them. I have a funny story about that real quick. I was doing, at the very, very beginning, I was doing market research, and I had someone who, originally at that time, I was sending the questions because it was really hard to get her on the phone. And I said, "What is your pain point?" And she answered that she had trouble in her back. And so she was saying, nothing that Advil can't take, but it's bothering me that I have pain in my lower back. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, like pain point for me, being a business coach is kind of like a jargon, if you will. And it's just like, for her, it was like pain is like a physical pain. And so that was really, really funny because I'm like, I got to stop using that jargon and really be more conscious about the language I use so that they understand me. So that was super important. Let me know if you have some, funny stories like that, things that you've been trying to understand from your ideal clients and they are completely on another page. So do you see what I'm putting out there? Like, do you understand? Like, it's really about being on the same resonance and the same vibe as your client. And for that, you need to know who they are, where they are, and how to speak to them. To give you another example that is like very linked, I'm sure we have love coaches here. Let me give you an example with love coaching. If your target market is interested in finding their soulmate, more than, finding Mr. Right, for example. So let's say, there is a category of women and men, I'm sure, that are looking to find their soulmate more than finding the guy to marry. And on the opposite, I'm sure there are a lot of people who just want to get married. I was always so shocked in the US when I learned that some women are going to college school just to find a husband and not to study. That's kind of a concept we don't have in France. So, you have to speak their language. You can't talk about getting married because that's not what they like. Another love coach, I was looking at, her copywriting for her post, and she was talking about the woman who wants to find a date to spend fun holidays and have somebody on holidays, because different events, she wants to have a date to go with her. And it was interesting because, some of her ideal clients weren't interested at all into that. So she had people into her Facebook group who were interested into that. And some were like, I don't care if I spend the holidays by myself. Like, it's time for family. I don't want to have somebody else. So you got to know very well what are the need and the desires of your ideal client. You have to analyze how they speak online and how they talk about their pain. So, the pain is basically the challenge or the problem that's presenting them to get what they desire. And once you have a good idea about the words they resonate with, then it's time to do active market research. It's the way that's engaging in a conversation with them and inviting them on a market research interview. This is an absolute must do, okay? You can't expect your business to be successful if you skip market research or if you're not doing it the right way. So now let's talk about active market research. There are 5 questions that are very, very powerful for your active market research. And I'll get to that in a second. But first, I wanted to give you kind of like a general overview of how to conduct market research interviews. First, I want you to really build trust and relationship. You know, you have to build trust and relationship before going on to an interview, or, you know, you don't want to be doing like a too soon marriage proposal kind of thing. You know, it's like that person just read a post from you. They may not want to be or be comfortable talking to you, but if you're building trust and relationship first, then they will open up to you and accept to spend time with you on the phone. For those of you who don't know, I kind of use that, you know, that metaphor of like the early proposal. It's like, you know, if you're on the first date with somebody and you're like, would you marry me? It's like, that's way too early. So this is the same in business with your online coaching business. Now, there is two different ways of asking questions depending on which question you ask. You start by asking questions about them. And in that case, you are going to ask open-ended questions. So any questions that are about your ideal client, you ask open-ended questions. Then the second part of market research is about asking questions about you and your offer. And this is questions where you need to be close-ended, because you know exactly what is your offer, you know exactly what are the benefits of working with you. And so in that case, you're going to ask them very precisely, you know, what does it mean for them? Do they like it? What do they think is not something that they would need? All of that. I would definitely encourage you as well to record all the interviews that you're doing, and you have to ask permission for that, of course. Definitely record all the interviews, and at the end, don't forget, you know, to ask them to if they would like to be added to your list. So that way you're also growing your list at the same time and keeping a relationship developing with them. On the close-ended questions about your offer, it's super powerful to describe your offer, ask them what they're thinking about, and then ask how much they would pay for your offer. You would be surprised sometimes. I had people, you know, I talked to them about offers. They said they would pay $10,000 for that offer. And then, you know, you're telling them what is the price that you are thinking about for your offer. And you get their feedback about that. Sometimes, you know, somebody may be telling you like, well, you know, I think that, let's say you're saying, you know, your offer is $500. Somebody can give you feedback that at $500, they wouldn't think this is a very good program. They would think that it's just fluff program, but they would need to pay more to be able to take it seriously. So that's very, very valuable feedback for you to have. And then, you know, if it works really well, if you feel like there is a really good vibe and they are kind of like asking you questions about how you work with your clients and all of that, definitely schedule a discovery call for the next day. Usually, you know, it's like the next day, 2 days after that, or 3 days after that. You want to keep, you know, the momentum going. So schedule a discovery call for next day and tell them that you can talk more to them about how to work with you or how you're working with your clients in a separate call. Some people may want to have a discovery call right after the interview. I personally prefer to separate them because you know, the market research interview, I always say that there is no hook and I am not selling anything. So it could seem incongruent if I was to go into a discovery call right after an interview, because I would be saying the contrary, or doing the contrary than what I said. So I prefer to have a clear cut, and so that, you know, market research interview as one goal and then discovery call as another goal. And so for those of you who may be new to coaching, discovery call is the word we kind of use, you know, like strategy call as well as it's like the sales call to see if your prospect is an ideal client indeed. So here are 5 questions that are extremely powerful for your active market research. One, you always want to ask the person about herself. How does she describe herself? What's her dream life? What would it allow her to do? And what's her frustration? You don't necessarily say pain point. I know you have to know the who, the desires, the end game, and the pain point. And you basically can summarize and see how they are describing it in just those 3 questions. But you don't say, what is your pain point? Because that person is going to much better understand what's your frustration, what's your challenge, what's preventing you from reaching this goal. So that's really, really important. That way, you can address your ideal client with words that mirror exactly who they are, because you are going to reuse the exact same words. Then, like I said, remember to ask open-ended questions first and then narrow it down with more details so that you don't bias the conversation and you know what they need most. So an example of open-ended question is, what freebies or webinar or piece of free content did you recently get or download? In that case, that's a pretty cool question, because that is judging them by their action. They could be telling you, I buy programs directly. I don't really listen to free content online. But if you ask, what freebies or webinar are you downloading recently? And they tell you, well, I downloaded, how to stop being tired using more veggies and smoothies, then that way that they're interested in fighting tiredness using veggies and some quick solution like smoothies. So that's really, really important, because you're actually judging them by the action instead of their words. And then when talking about your package or retreat or your services, like I said, ask them how much they would buy, how much they would pay for it, and then ask them, why would you buy such a pack or an offer? And then, that way you can collect in their own words, what are the benefits they see in your package? So you definitely want to have a lot of benefit-driven languages and reuse the words that they are using to build your benefit statements for your package. And you can do the same about hiring you as a coach. You can ask, why would you hire me as a coach? What would make you hesitate to hire me as a coach? And that, my dear, is just an easy way to know how to write your sales page. Because what they are telling you into that question, you can basically use the same into your sales page. Who is this program for? Who is this not? Who am I? How do I work? Now, the last question is my favorite. Do you have any questions for me? This is always high-end, my market research interviews. I just say, do you have any questions? I'd be happy to answer any questions you have to. Thank you for your time. This is an awesome market research question in disguise, actually, because that tells you exactly what do they need. What answer are they looking for? What would be the number one question they would ask a coach if they had an opportunity? So then that piece of information, you are going to take it and repurpose it to do a live streaming or to do a Q&A session or to do a newsletter. But you are going to reuse that, on social media posts. You can be like, hey, are you wondering if blah, 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 and give your answer. And so once you do all of that, you can basically build what we call your client avatar. That's definitely something that you need at some point. But as you can see, contrary to other methods of going to your ideal client, you have seen at the beginning, I have an induction period in my method that allows my clients to be completely immersed into the shoes of their ideal client. And so then the avatar is going to be so much more clear. So the client avatar is composed of 5 big steps. One step is knowing the demographics: age, gender, marital status, do they have any children, how old are the children, where are they located, what's their job, what's their hobby, what's their annual income, what's their education. Second step is knowing the goals and also the values. Because 2 people may have the same goals, but go completely differently about it because of their values. 3, what source of info or information are they reading, listening, watching? So what kind of books, magazine, blogs, website, conference, gurus? That also helps you know what language they are the most accustomed to. So somebody who has never done any, never read any spiritual book about Deepak Chopra, you're not going to give them all the jargon that Deepak is using because they would not understand anything. And that is also very important, when you go into doing Facebook ads later into your business, that is really important. You can also ask during your active market research, what kind of books did you read recently? Who are you following online? What are the magazines that you're reading, etc. Now, step number 4 for building your client avatar is knowing what are the challenge or pain points, same thing, and what are their objections. So, if they are saying, my pain point is I need to learn how to build my business, but the objection is like, I don't have any money because I'm just starting, then you need to know what is their objection to be able to overcome them into your messaging and educate them on the way to overcome their objection, because it's basically self-sabotage in disguise. Step number 5 is knowing their desires and their end game. So here is just an example. If you want to get fancy, I think, it's probably a waste of time. Like, you can do that really quick on a paper with pencil, but don't waste your time doing it, on a slide on PowerPoint or whatever. I took that client avatar from a digital marketer website. You can see that they have the goals, the values for someone named Eric, who is working in an agency, is an owner, I think, of an agency. And so basically you see like they have objections in role in purchase process. It's slightly different, but very similar to what I just shared with you. You can set it up like that on one page if you prefer that kind of setup, if you're more visual person. Here is Marie-Laurence. She is an awesome coach in France. And, she has been through the process that I've been describing you, and she's done the Find Your Ideal Client session with me. And here's what she was saying, the questions in the workbook are really efficient and accurate enough that I could nail down my niche. So that's really, the critical piece here is really the induction process with the questionnaire and the workbook to be able to then really extract the essence of your ideal client, who they are, their pain point, their desire, and their end game. So now let's talk about how to resonate. In order for your client to need what you offer, you have to listen. You have to reformulate what you heard so they feel understood. And you need to speak their language. Sorry. Got a little French accent here. Then the last point also is you gotta mention the pain point that your product is solving and the desire of the end game, it offers based on the words they use to describe your problem. And this has to be very benefit driven. Imagine you're Apple and you're selling the MacBook Air. If you're just saying like, this is a small laptop that you can put anywhere, it's small and it doesn't take any space, then you're not necessarily talking clearly about the pain point and the end game of one of your ideal clients. A lot of digital nomad and bloggers have MacBook Air. So the way that Apple can talk about the benefit of the MacBook Air is saying that, if they are tired of carrying a 5 pounds laptop on their travel, then, they really need the MacBook Air because they can take it anywhere and it allows them to travel with not worrying about having a gigantic laptop that maybe doesn't fit their bag, or something that is so big that it just attracts attention. That is, something that would really speak to the end game of a blogger, digital nomad who wants to travel and have a piece of equipment and hardware that is much easier to use. Kind of like the Passepartout laptop. So, like I said, you can find the words they use on passive market research and also during your active market research. And that's why those steps are really critical to do in that order. When you speak their language, it's really, you want to have them feel, wow, she's really, really reading my mind. And so listening and reformulating is definitely a skills that's developed with time. That's why you need to record your interviews. Don't worry, at the beginning, you have to develop that muscle in you, It's like there might be so much for you to do at the beginning in market research. Don't worry too much about always having to reformulate. Grab, first, how is a market research call structured, and then worry about listening in depth and reformulating with their own words. But don't put too much onto your plate at the beginning. So here is now, another way to resonate with your target audience. So basically, you have here what I call a mission statement. A mission statement allows you to say in a very short snippet, it's kind of like an elevator pitch. It says who you are and what you do. And it's a nice way to plug all of those descriptor, pain point, desire, and end game into 1 or 2 sentences. Then, people are like, oh, cool, how do you do that? And then you can go into the how and giving more benefits. So here's the mission statement. You will see in blue, I have bolded what are, the who, the pain, the desire, and the end game. I am a freedom and business coach. I help women who are struggling in their career. This is the who. To create their online thriving service-based business. This is the desire. I specialize in identifying their unique niche and how to share a story in a captivating way that makes them stand out online. To help them become more visible. This is also the desire. So that they can book clients they love and have freedom to travel the world without becoming a slave to their business. Booking clients they love and have freedom to travel the world is the end game. Without becoming a slave to their business is another layer of pain point that I am adding right there. So you see, it has to be super precise. That's why I attract the women I attract who want to travel and all of that, because it's really very specific into my mission. Now, you see, you can't say, I'm going to help you achieve your dreams, because this isn't specific at all. It could be, that somebody wants to have a yacht on the Pacific Ocean, or it could be that they want to travel the world, or they want to open an orphanage in India. Like, this is, it could be that somebody wants to spend time with their kids. It could be anything. So it doesn't speak to anybody in particular. Do you see what I mean? So share with us, if you want, into the chat box, like, what is your mission statement? Try to, tell us what is the pain point, the desire of your clients. What kind of elements do you know already very precisely? So here is, how we built the mission statement for Brigitte, who is the love and relationship coach. She is a love success coach for the successful woman who is still single and feeling like she'll never find someone. I help her dissolving negative relationship patterns, uncovering time-saving proven dating strategies, such as identifying red flags early to attract her ideal man who knows how to cope with her high-achieving background so that she can invest her time and love into a passionate, supportive, and committed relationship with a man who's the exact right match for her. Brigitte, after posting this one super precise mission statement into one group, had 11 women booking market research call at that time. And then, she had a funny story, actually. She was into an event in Zurich, Switzerland, and there was 300 people at that event. And the host of the event invited somebody to come on the stage to share their elevator pitch. And so she got chosen, and we just had worked this mission statement with her the session before the event. She had 20 leads coming after she shared her message, her short mission statement on stage at that event. So you see, this is really, really powerful. You can use that mission statement everywhere to resonate with your ideal client. Now, Vicky, her mission statement, when she has to explain to somebody what she's doing, she's saying, I am a transitional coach that mentors women who have been impacted by religious belief and social pressures that keep them stuck in difficult, dysfunctional relationships. They have given up their identity and self-worth to maintain an outer image, feeling like divorce has not been an option. And their greatest desire is to break free of the past and reclaim their true identity and rebuild their lives so that they can follow their dreams, live free, and be amazing role model for their children. And recently, when Vicky was doing her market research studies, she had 6 market research calls booked the first week that she was conducting market research. So this is a very, very powerful way to resonate with your ideal client, because it has all the elements, the 5 elements that I shared with you at the beginning of the webinar. It has the 5 elements to really resonate with it. And now, the other things that I wanted to talk to you about is sharing your story. We are into an age where emotional connection is very important. And so one sure way to resonate with your client is to use your story and pieces of your story, whether it's your story personally or also the story of your clients. Because customers don't buy with their mind, they buy with their heart. And you are in the support business and relationship business. You have to connect from human to human with your ideal client. And one proven way to do that is by sharing stories. From the beginning of the time, humans have been drawn to stories. And there is so much more, that passes through a story. You can pass your why, you can pass your values, you can pass your strength. And your branding actually is also in there too. Things that you don't need to spell out, that are infused in who you are. Personally, I attract so many clients who resonate with my life, with me living in the US and Mexico and Europe year round. One of my clients, Catherine, she's also from Switzerland. She wants to be able to travel to Texas to enjoy her hobby with horses. Another one of my current client, Karen, wants to be able to go 6 months per year to Mexico when her husband retires. So she wants to be able to travel and live in the two different countries, Mexico and the US. Here I have Alex. You may know her. She's the owner of Travel Fashion Girl. It's the number one blog for female travelers to know what to pack depending on the localization they want to go to, or the location they want to go to. And she travels the world. She has a strong home base in England. And like you can see, she's been on 6 continents, 46 countries in 8 years. Her blog has 1 million monthly page views. And she has created this 6-figure blogger online course. And she came to me for getting help, about how to develop her sales strategy for this online course that she was offering. So she is a little bit more advanced, she's a CEO of a 6-figure business. She has a team, but when she came into the online course sphere, if you will, or world, that was really, really new. She had just had a blog before. And I really helped her, clarify which business stage she was stuck in. And I talked to her into a completely different sales strategy for her that really resonated with her and where she was at in her business at that point. Luna is another client of mine. She is a stock image photographer. She has more than 3,800 stock photos. So all her income is coming 100% from passive income. She went 1 month in New York City as a reward. So you see, she's traveling also a lot, business trips to London, Bali, fun road trip in France, Italy, Slovenia, and that's just for 2017 for her. She's also moving back from Spain to Mexico. And when I worked with Luna, I basically, we basically smashed the productivity of Luna, and she went from shooting once every 3 months to shooting 4 times a week without spending more time on her business. So Luna is another ideal client of mine because she's working and also traveling at the same time. So by me sharing my story, I get a lot of people coming to me saying they want to have the same lifestyle as me. And it's very, very important because the way you're conducting your online business is different if you stay if you're a coach who stays 100% of the time where you are. There is some specific about being an online coach and traveling and having this digital nomad lifestyle, or at least heavy traveler lifestyle, that you need a coach to be able to help you going through that so you can be efficient in your business and, most importantly, not kill your business as you're traveling. Because definitely, believe me, I've seen coaches killing their business because of the way they were traveling at the same time. So, I help also my client realizing and putting the system into place so that they can have both a thriving business and enjoying travel. So, definitely don't go into a novel when you go into your story, but always relate to the relevant point in your story or the story of your clients to show what's possible for people listening to you. What story can you share that would resonate with your ideal client when you ask people to answer questions for your market research, for example? So just to summarize now, today you learned the number one strategy to make sure you discover your ideal client that I use with everyone I work with. Where to find them online and how to speak to them in a way that makes them want to work with you right away, so that you don't have, some sales calls where it's difficult to convert the person. They are just coming to you and wanting to work with you right away. And, my guess is that you probably came to this webinar today because you love helping people and you're great at what you do. You're a great coach, but you'd love to attract clients instead of chasing them. You want to become, you want to become a traveler. You want to start your business online, and you love to be able to attract clients online. And you've probably felt overwhelmed and exhausted by all of your marketing efforts that don't seem to be as effective at booking clients as you would like them to be. You've seen other online entrepreneurs get many interviews for market research or getting lots of tractions each time that they post or make an offer online, and you want the same engagement on your post, right? So it's really time for you to point yourself in the direction of getting your first high-paying clients by really being crystal clear on your ideal client and how to speak to them in a magnetizing way to finally attract and start booking online coaching clients. So it's your turn to really feel now confident and empowered and in the know about what it takes to define your ideal client's avatar and how to speak to them to really make them resonate with you and attract them to you so that they easily say yes to working with you and only you. So here is the thing, to be able to book high-paying clients, it's also super important for you to master these areas as well. You need to have your mission. I briefly talked about it into this webinar. You need to master your messaging. You need to master your offer and how to talk about your offer in a magnetic way. And you need to master how to create must-have content that people will sign up for so that you can build your list and grow your list. So what I'm teaching is really, step by step that anyone can use. I've had client after client use it and create success like never before. And it's really just about having a step-by-step roadmap and following it. And to identify also, what you need to tweak. Maybe you have already an ideal client. Maybe you have already some elements that I've shared with you, but it's not working. So I'm also, here to identify what you need to tweak on your current target audience, and you can get my personal feedback on it. So for this, there is just a limited amount of those nail down your niche assessment. You can go to the address that I've shared here with you on the slide. It's a bit.ly link, so it's completely safe. bit.ly/30 MIN assessment. So just go to this short URL and it will prompt you, to enter a coupon code or promo code. And you can get this assessment for free if you're using the promo code assessment. And this is, if there is a limited amount of promo codes, so definitely get now onto this address. It's real quick. You just have to select the time that works and enter the coupon code, and then you just have a couple of questions to answer. Now, here is Natasha. She's been through the Find Your Ideal Client intensive with me. And it's really nice, that we've been able to work together. She's a spiritual life coach, and she had been struggling for over a year to get clear on her ideal client, her niche, and her offer. And so we were able to do that in such a short amount of time. We even also learned how to conduct effective market research. Now she gets awesome response to her post. She has fun building relationship. So she was really, really grateful to have finally found her niche. And here is Lisa Jelly. She's a career transition coach from the UK. And with Lisa as well, we've precisely nailed down her niche. And so she had shared with me, that ideas have been swimming around in her head for such a long time. But by using the really simple technique I described to you, that I use into the Find Your Client intensive session, we were able to find her ideal client. And now she was, really excited to move forward and find her ideal client. And as a follow-up on after she wrote that to me, she also shared with me that she had actually 2 weeks later she found perfect ideal client and started coaching her as well. So if you're ready, just hop on to book your call with me. It's bit.ly/30-minute assessment. And now, I would love for you, if you had any questions during this webinar, or if you have any questions right now, just write them into the chat or go directly into Finding Yourself Abroad Facebook group. That way, I just sent you an email as well. You can have the link right there. I will answer all of the questions you may have asked into a special live stream into the Facebook group. I'm just, being conscious of the time here. I don't want to be answering those and making any delays. So get into the Facebook group. I will answer them there, and you will be able to catch up with me live later today. Thank you. Bye-bye.